Hi there, my name is Jenny, and I just wanted to talk to you about something that has come up a few times when I've been talking to potential 21-day fix challengers, and that is people who are currently eating low carb, who are very concerned about switching over to a clean diet and incorporating carbs into their diet. So this one is near and dear to my heart because prior to trying the 21-day fix, I was actually a religious low carber Atkins diet approach for 3 solid years. And I will say that it absolutely worked for me. I did lose a substantial amount of weight eating in a low carb way. But at some point, it just, for me, became no longer sustainable. So that's why I wanted to address it. I've recently had a handful of challengers who all converted from low carb over to the 21-day fix eating plan and a clean eating plan, but it didn't come without a lot of reservation and a lot of concern on their behalf. So I just want to kind of talk through what my experience has been and maybe answer any questions and, calm down any fears that people might have about that. So this is by no means me saying not to do the low carb approach or low carb diet. This is just me sharing my experience. So like I said, after I had my son, I went on a low carb diet approach and I went specifically with Atkins. And for phase 1 with Atkins, the goal is to eat 20 carbs or less a day in order to get your body into ketosis, which is where it starts burning its own fat supply rather than the carbs that you are eating. So I did that and I was able to stick to that. And I went from weighing in the 160s down to the 130s. So I lost, good 30 pounds doing that. But here are some of the things that I found. I was religious about counting my carbs, which was kind of annoying, I suppose. I didn't talk about it a lot, but it was still something that I had to be very mindful of. That caused me to get into a rut with the type of foods that I was eating. So I was eating the same thing over and over and over. So at some point it started to become very boring to me, and maybe a little less sustainable because I started to get bored. Therefore, I started to cheat a little bit here and there. What I learned about low carb is all or nothing. You are either in it or you're not. And as soon as you go out of eating properly in a low carb approach, you go out of ketosis where your body is actually burning the fat. And then it can take 2 to 3 to 4 days, depending on your body makeup, to get back into ketosis. So, you eat, if you're in phase 1 and you eat 1 piece of bread, you knock yourself out of ketosis and it can be another 3 or 4 days before you get back into that. So that's something to be very mindful of if someone is in that type of eating with low carb, is that you have to be 100% in or you're pretty much depriving yourself for no reason. Something else that I learned is carbs are sneaky, and they were in things where I would kind of least expect them to be, or things that you would presume or that are healthy. And so that became a thing for me where I was looking at labels of foods that were healthy and going, this is healthy, but I can't eat it because it's got too many carbs. And so that started to bother me over time. And the other thing that I was doing is I was not eating healthy foods in favor of eating things that I knew were not necessarily healthy for me, but they were low carb. So for instance, I didn't eat fruit for like at least a year. I probably didn't, average a piece of fruit a week, definitely less than that. Occasionally I would add in some berries or whatever the lowest carb fruits were. But we all know that fruits are good for us, and I was not eating those. Instead, I was eating things like bacon and meat and cheese and chicken wings. My husband and I would go out and we'd say, gosh, isn't it great that we can have chicken wings because we eat low carb? And then my husband would go to the doctor and his cholesterol was high. And what do you know? That's not really a shocker when you're eating things like bacon and chicken wings. So, I'm eating full fat dressings and meat and cheese, lots of vegetables. So that was good. I was getting vitamins there. But just, the logical side of me knew that probably was not the best approach for a long-term solution. So over time, like I said, I was getting bored. I was eating things that weren't very healthy. And then eventually, 3 years into it, I started to cheat here and there. I'll just have, a few little crackers. I'll just have a few little bites of this bread at the restaurant or these chips at the restaurant. And I started to kind of backslide out of low carb, which meant I started to gain weight. And I was frustrated because for the most part, I was sticking to the low carb. But if you don't do it wholeheartedly, you're not going to lose weight. In fact, you're going to start gaining the weight back. So when I decided to try the 21-day fix, even though I wasn't still losing on low carb, I had actually gained weight. I was very scared of how my body was going to respond to that. In fact, I ordered it and I ended up contacting my coach shortly after ordering it and just asking her what her thoughts were on it, because I was panicked. I was absolutely panicked that as soon as I started eating carbs from fruit and from things that I knew that were healthy, but I was very, very concerned about how my body was going to react to that, and I was so scared that I was going to gain weight. And when I first started the 21-day fix, I was actually on a very short time period. I had a special event that I was going to, and I didn't have time to be gaining weight. I definitely didn't have time for that. So that was my biggest concern. I literally cried the day before I started because I was so scared of what was going to happen. What I've learned from changing my approach to clean eating is a lot of things. So not only am I skinnier now, but I am also much healthier looking. When I was on low carb, I was working out, not as much as I am now, but I was working out and I was getting thinner, but not really, I didn't look healthy. I didn't have, like the muscle tone. And I know that comes from working out, but like my skin didn't look as good. My face didn't look as good. My hair wasn't as shiny and healthy. I just had kind of a dull appearance. And I've noticed that from eating whole, clean foods, my skin is brighter, my hair is shinier, and my skin all over my body just looks healthier. I look more toned. I just look better and I feel better. When I go to the doctor, the first thing that people ask me is like, you must eat a pretty good diet, huh? And you work out, and my vitals are always right spot on. I feel lighter and healthier and better fueled. I don't get starving or hangry during the day. I eat lots of small meals throughout the day, and I'm eating things that I know exactly what's in them. It would not be abnormal when I was eating low carb for me to literally take a few spoonfuls of like whipped cream cheese, and I would add Splenda to it, so an artificial sweetener, and I might add some low carb, low sugar chocolate sauce to it, and stir it all up, and that would be a snack. Cream cheese with chocolate sauce on it, because that fit within the low carb diet. And now what I'm eating is raw almond butter, slices of apple, things that I know are healthy for me. The other thing too with eating a clean diet is the variety is much greater, I think personally. And so here was my experience. I started the 21-day fix, and in my first round, I lost 9 pounds and 13 inches. So here I was scared to death that I was going to gain weight by adding carbs in. And in fact, within the first couple days, I lost 3 pounds, like immediately. And I did add in, some crackers, some whole grain crackers, and I would do an occasional whole grain waffle with some almond butter on it. And I was so scared at first, but I found out like, wow, I can actually enjoy these healthy carbs and lose weight doing it versus totally depriving myself of them. Now, flip side, on a clean diet, I can't go out and eat a bunch of chicken wings on a regular basis, but I don't need to because that's not good for me and my cholesterol. So that is considered a cheat day or a big splurge that I might do, but I can do other variations. So I can do chicken tenderloins with maybe some sort of hot sauce on it instead of having fried chicken wings with full fat ranch dressing. So that was my experience. Within the first round, I immediately lost weight. I immediately lost inches. My skin cleared up. My hair looked better. Just everything about me looks and feels healthier. So I know it's very scary whenever you get into, I don't want to call it a fad diet, but whenever you get into one way of eating and then, you try to change it. But here's my thought. The people who have contacted me, and myself included, when I contacted my coach, when she invited me to join, I wouldn't have been contacting her. They would not have been contacting me if the low carb approach was working for them, truly working for them, and if they were getting to their goal weight. And until I switched over to a clean diet and regular exercise, I was not able to achieve the results that I was looking for. So I just wanted to share that experience because it has come up so frequently with some of the contacts that I've had recently, and to just let you know, from someone who has been there, from someone who went through the very real fear of what is going to happen if I all of a sudden go off this low carb and start incorporating all these carbs back into my life. And what happened for me was I followed the program just the way it was written, exactly what I was supposed to do. And I was successful, period. I didn't try to alter the program. I didn't try to go low carb because you can't mix the two, really. It just doesn't work that way. What you can do is, if you're really nervous about it, and this is what I did my first week, I went with the lowest carb fruits. I went with the lowest carb Shakeology to kind of ease myself into it. Come to find out, once I got going, none of that mattered. I can eat a banana now and not be fearful of it. And that was a huge shift and a huge win for me, to not be afraid of food anymore, to know that I can eat things and not be concerned about eating a piece of fruit and thinking that it was a bad thing. So I think that's a huge win. So anyhow, I just wanted to share that with you. I hope that helps a little bit if you've had this fear and if you've been concerned about it. If you ever have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. I'm at jennywilliamsfitness@gmail.com. And if you're thinking about trying the 21-day fix and you're looking for a challenge group, I'd love to work with you. So shoot me an email. You can also find me on Facebook at Jennywilliamsfitness, and I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for being here and listening.